Pellechia grew up during the 1970s on the North Shore of Long Island, New York. After losing his father at a young age, Pellechia quit playing sports and became a rebellious teen who looked for fights and trouble at every turn. After joining the Marines at the age of 17, Pellechia discovered discipline and, more importantly, weight training. Moving heavy weights became Pellechia's new passion for living, and he quickly grew in size and strength. In fact, after leaving the Marines, he became so big and strong, he earned the nickname Iron Bull. After several years of proving himself in the local gyms, he started performing his incredible feats of strength around the country, and ultimately around the world. While lifting may be Pellechia's salvation, he finds true peace in music. While he's never taken a single lesson, Pellechia has an incredible ear for music, and he has the uncanny ability to play a grand piano like a concert pianist. And I've seen him rip chords on an electric guitar like a rock star prodigy. And if all these talents weren't impressive enough, watching Pellechia interact with his extended family would make you swear you were watching a TV reality show. And now, let's go behind the muscle. All right, Jimmy, you are the first guest officially on Behind the Muscle. I was trying to rack my brain. Everyone was throwing names out at me. Dorian Yates and this one and that one. And I said, no, you know what? I want someone who the industry knows but doesn't really know. Because that's what this show is all about, Behind the Muscle. You've been in the industry for over 30 years. You've trained in a bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman capacity. You kind of defined your own segment, so to speak, in this industry. You called it power bodybuilding. Actually, I think the late Don Ross actually called it power bodybuilding, but you adapted that moniker and made it your own. And you're really unique in the industry in that sense. Talk to us a little bit about, number one, looking back at your legacy in the industry, how do you think it fares compared to what's going on today in the strongman powerlifting bodybuilding arena?
You mean from those times to these times?
Yeah.
I would think, I don't know, like back in those days, for me anyway, it was very, very exciting to be in that whole atmosphere. It was, I think it was still kind of growing, and I mean today it's huge. I mean,
there was no internet back then. Now today it's all about the internet.
I was just telling somebody that the other day, that if I had one of these freaking iPhones back then, I probably could have made a much bigger splash than I did,
More people would certainly know who you were.
Yeah, I mean, I did okay for what we had back in the day, but I mean, those phones are like amazing, Instagram. And when I was doing, one time, I did the seated dumbbell curls at the Arnold Classic, and John Romano was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was emceeing the thing with that girl, Adrienne, the blonde, I forget her name back in those days there. But we didn't have any of that,
So no one knew, really, except who was the people who were there.
I had a friend take a couple pictures, like that, but...
and when you did seated dumbbell curls with 150s, right? 150 pound
I
dumbbells?
was doing it for reps. And I was after Hobart Manford did the hammer curls with them.
Yeah.
And he came out, and
you showed him up, didn't you?
Yeah, I was actually backstage, and he came out first.
Manfred Holber was a strongman from Germany, who at the time I think had the biggest arms in the world. They were like 25 inches.
He was huge.
And he was
big too.
He was strong too.
Yeah, he was.
And
nice guy.
So you're at the Arnold Classic, and they have this, they used to have different demonstrations up on the stage.
Yes.
And he went up and hammer curled these things?
Yeah, we were back behind the curtain first. Mm-hmm. So I says, yo, Hobart, what are you gonna do up there, And he's like, I'm going to do the 150 curls. I said, you are? I said, that's what I'm doing. Because we didn't communicate beforehand,
Right, sure.
So
I don't think he spoke English very well, did he?
I was broken, So anyway, he goes out there, and I'm watching him through the curtain. You know? So I want to see what he's doing, you know.
Yeah.
And he was doing, he was
like, yeah, but he was doing crappy form.
Yeah, he was just kind of, and I was saying to myself, I could do those with 200, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't knock the guy, he was a good guy. But anyway, so then that
and he
girl,
did him standing too, I think.
Standing, yeah, he did standing, yeah. So then the girl, after that was over, everybody clapped, whatever, and then Andrea, I forget her name. She had blonde hair. She did a lot of emceeing. You don't remember her?
I don't. It's a long time ago. Yeah.
Anyway, so she comes back behind stage and she's like, Jimmy, you're up next. What are you gonna do? I says, I'm gonna do 150-pound dumbbell curls. She goes, you can't. He just did them. I says, no. I said he didn't do them. I says, go out there and tell him that Jimmy DePaul's coming out there to do seated alternate dumbbell curls. All right. She was like all frustrated because she didn't want to really, because he just kind of did curls, right? But she didn't understand like how I was gonna do them.
Right.
So she went out there and announced it. I was backstage warming up with the straight bar curl, winging 225, just warming up because I had to warm up. So
most people, that's the most they ever do is 225. You were warming up.
Yeah, I had to warm up the arms, So I was making all kinds of noise and throwing the weights down. And this was like behind stage, so they were micing me, so everybody was hearing all the commotion back there. So then I finally come out, and they slid that bench out there for me, that seated bench. And John Romano was there, and I took the dumbbells. First I introduced myself and all that. And I sat down and I started, like winging them up,
And when the crowd is there and they're yelling, is obviously that's getting you your adrenaline.
Well, yeah, they were all clapping and all that. Then when I sat down, I don't think they were really too sure. Some people normally knew what I was going to do, but a lot of, it was like 2,500 people there.
Yeah.
I just picked them up off the floor, and I just started wailing them. And I was getting them up about this high.
Yeah, you go very high with your
Yeah, and I was just winging them up like that. I got like 7, 8, people just going nuts, And the last curl I did, I actually took it and raised it up on my head, and I slammed it down, And I got up,
And this is before the days where the strongmen were doing crazy
yeah,
lifts.
They weren't even in existence at that time.
There was no official strongman at that time.
No, there wasn't. I probably would have tried to maybe even enter that if I knew it, but they wasn't even around.
They were certainly not having it at the Arnold. So you were kind of the main attraction there.
Yeah, I was really. I was kind of doing things that really, people weren't doing. Of course, I had the people who knocked me too. Said, "Oh, shit."
The powerlifters knocked you, right?
One guy wrote in a magazine once. I forget his name. He was from down south. He wanted to. Actually, no, it was a writer, some writer. I forget his name. I hated the guy. He wanted to see me do those curls in that seat, straight up and down, tied to the seat.
Right.
Come on, man.
Well, you have to use momentum to get.
You gotta use a little momentum.
People don't realize. I always said to you, and I've told you this before, that your best lift was the seated dumbbell curls.
Yeah, you liked that. I know you always liked
because
it.
It was a legitimate lift. Because I challenge anyone to pick a 150-pound dumbbell up off the floor and try to curl it.
I don't think anybody's done until today.
I don't think anyone could do it. I don't even think these strongmen could do it because it's a very difficult maneuver to balance your body and to have the strength in the bicep to lift it.
And shoulders involved in that too.
Right, but I'm just saying, most people would probably tear their biceps. I don't think even at my biggest, would even be able to lift it off the floor to do it in that maneuver.
It's funny because when I was running around, gym hopping all those years, people would attempt it, and I see them get in the chair, and they basically pick the dumbbells up, and then they would just, that was about it, and I'm like,
I mean, you had some amazing lifts, obviously, in your career. You did an assisted bench press of almost 1,100 pounds.
Yeah,
and
did that in California.
People don't realize in the day, the bench press world record was only about 700. So no one had ever put that kind of weight over their head.
We're just under maybe.
Nowadays they have these crazy bench shirts that people can bench over 1,000 pounds, but no one did that. No one even thought it was in the realm of possibility to do 1,000 pounds.
No, and I was only 219. People didn't realize that either. I wasn't very heavy.
No, and you weren't wearing gear either. So
no.
To a certain degree, I like these bench shirts of today. You also did skull crushers. People remember. I remember seeing you with up to 600 pounds for reps, and I mean this was something that people just didn't do. I mean, back in the day, I mean you had to have It's always hard for the first person to do anything. So people don't give you enough credit, I think, that you actually had the audacity to try it.
What's funny is when I once again at the Arnold, I did the skull crushers. They all because people wanted me to. They would say, Jimmy, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. And they do the skull crush, do the skull crush. All right, so that's what we did. So I showed up at the Arnold one year and for Metrex, and I had Craig Titus and Frank Zeppi was spot me, and Jimmy Quinn. All three of them was spot me. They had a lifter. I had six. I went up to 655, and Craig Titus and Zeppi had because I had it in a squat rack, you know, and I put a bench inside a squat rack.
And explain, show the viewers what a skull crusher is, just so the movement, so they can see what you do.
Basically, what it is you know, it's a French press. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you're laying on a flat bench, and either someone hands you the bar, and you kind of like, you know, maybe 4 or 5
show them where the bar goes. Show them where the bar goes.
And then you kind of like
you bring it back over your face.
Yeah, you
essentially.
bring it down like my nose. I would bring it back down here like that, and then I would just squeeze.
The reason they call skull crushers is because if you drop the weight, it cracks your skull.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't go back. A lot of guys went back. I didn't go back. I went right to the head and pushed
With
it out,
600 pounds over
that,
your face.
At the Arnold was 655. I did.
I mean,
I got 5 reps out of it.
I mean, the audacity you had to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the crowd went nuts with that too.
I mean, how did you have enough confidence in yourself to say, you know what, I can do this, and I'm not going to break my face open?
You know, I don't think I just thought about it, man. Because you know, I used to just go. You know, I used to go up in increments in the weight, and I felt how I felt myself out. You know, and I said to myself, I could do it. You know, I could do it. I would load it. That's what I did with that bench in California when I did the 1015.
We're going to talk about that. Let's take a step back, however. Let's go back to young Jimmy Pellechia, growing up Long Island, New York. What year were you born in?
59.
1959. So it was, that was the 60s you grew up in as a
kid.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
And
60s,
you know, what kind of a child were you like in like the early years? You know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Were you a student?
What do you mean, like today?
Did you like to study? I mean, were you good in school?
I was pretty bad, man.
Yeah.
I was. I don't know. If I had to like sum myself up, I would say I was always like kind of a good time Charlie. You know what I mean? I always looked for the good times. I've been chasing women as long as I can remember.
When you were 8 years old?
Yeah, even then, man.
I mean, you grew up in an Italian household, 2 parents.
Yeah. Well, my father died when I was young, but you know, I always had a thing for women. I had a crush on this girl in the elementary school. I'll never forget it. You know, and actually, it was a few girls I had a crush on. Yeah, but you know, I did what I had to do in school, but I was never really a school guy. I always
Did you play sports?
More, you know. I played. I did. I played. You know, in elementary school, I played. Actually, they had a professional. Actually, it wasn't professional, but it was a team. Remember bounce ball? You know.
What was it called?
Bounce ball. You ever
Bounce ball? You mean like dodgeball?
Yeah, dodgeball.
Oh, okay.
I was actually on that team. I loved that game. I loved nailing people. You know. And then we, as I went into junior high, then I went to football. You know, that's when I met Jimmy Quinn and all my friends.
So Jimmy Quinn went to your high school?
Yeah, me and Jimmy went 7th grade together.
That's fun. It's ironic that you guys wound up both working for Metrics and both in the bodybuilding.
Yeah, we know each other a long time.
And Jimmy went on to obviously play pro football for a number of years, and then he went into the bodybuilding.
Then he got hurt and he got cut. But yeah, we. It was funny because even back then I was kind of a little bit of a renegade. I don't know why.
Was Jimmy like into sports? Was he a big jock? Like, and you were like kind of.
Jimmy
like
was total
badass?
jock, total jock.
And you were just like a badass.
You know, it's funny because I was kind of like. I could do both. Like I'm like I could
crossed over.
Yeah, I could hang with like the derelicts, but yet I could go to like the jock parties. That's what I did, you know. So I'll never forget it. One time, you know, I was out. It was weekends. You know, we always used to look for keg parties. So that was our thing, you know. And we knew that Jimmy Quinn was at a Dix Hills. They had a big jock party going on, and there was always a lot of pretty girls at jock parties, you know. So me and my friends, you know, we decided to go crash the party, you know. So I knew Jimmy was there, and I was friends with him. But I don't think Jimmy really wanted to associate me with his friends at that time. I had long hair, you know. So anyway, I show up. I'm in the front of the house. We're all hanging out, you know, drinking our beers, you know. And some guy, Jimmy told me later on, that a couple of guys ran in the backyard. And they're like, "Yo, Jimmy Pellech's outside, man. He's out. He's in the street, you know." So Jimmy says, "I'll take care of it. Don't worry." So he goes because they were like all worried I was out there. Something was gonna happen, you know.
Were you a fighter? Did you fight one?
I fought everybody.
Oh, you did?
I stuck a guy's head in the toilet bowl in 6th grade and flushed it. I had all my friends outside the bathroom. This kid, Billy, I'll never forget. I felt bad for him, though.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm not going to mention his last name, but something, we got into words, and we ended up in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I had him by the back of the head in the bowl, and I was flushing the bowl. And everybody.
People really do that, huh?
I did that, yeah. I wish I had that on film. But all the teachers came, they broke it up. I had to go see the principal. And, it was a lot of trouble.
So you're outside the party.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm outside the party, so Jimmy comes out, and he's like, Jimmy, and I said, yo, Jimmy, you know, we were hugging and all that, you know. So then, like, everybody kind of calmed down because
Yeah.
they saw Jimmy was tight with me, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was a little bit of a maniac back then.
Now, when you turned 13 or thereabouts, I know your
Yeah.
father passed away. How did that affect you emotionally, mentally at that point? I mean, how did your life change?
I have to honestly say, I believe the tables really turned in my life at that point, you know. I started, it was really like a wake-up call for me, you know. I mean, when I was younger, I was a little bit of a you know, an aggressive person, but my father kept me in check. My father was a Navy SEAL, you know, Korean War. I remember one time I went to school and I was like in elementary and I came home. I had jeans on with the American flag, a strip of the American flag down the seams. That was like the thing. It was in the 60s, you know.
Yeah.
I came home, my father was pissed. He's
Why?
like,
Because
because I had the American flag.
oh, it was disrespectful?
My father was very patriotic.
Right.
And he was like, take those pants off now. And I don't want to ever see you wearing those pants again. I said, okay. I went inside, took them off. No.
So he was the disciplinarian.
Yeah, my father, I had to walk a straight line with him, you know. But we were at a party one time, like before I tell you about how my life turned at 13, we were at my aunt's house, Aunt Mickey and Uncle Savvy, right? A big family out. You know, back in those days, a barbecue
Sunday morning.
on a Sunday, we had
Yeah.
40 people at the house.
Right.
You know? Now, all my cousins were derelicts. So somehow we ended up next door in the neighbor's yard in the woods, because my aunt lived in a woody area. It was out like Patchogue area. And the kid had a playhouse in the back. It was a pretty cool playhouse. So naturally, you know, what do? You know, start throwing rocks through the windows, you know, breaking the door down, you know, we destroyed the thing, you know. We were kids, you know.
Yeah.
So the kid shows up, screaming and crying. He ran, he got his father, all the mothers, you know, the parents, you know. So we're all standing in a circle and the kid's hysterical crying. And my father's looking at me and I'm like, I know I'm in trouble. I didn't do most of the breaking, my cousin did, but I was there.
Yeah.
You know? So all of a sudden the kid just hauls off and wails me. Starts, you know, punching my stomach in, you know. So I pushed him away, you know, and everybody grabbed him. So we get back to next door. My father's like, he goes, in the car. I don't want to see you the rest of the time. So I get in the car, you know. I'm in the back seat of the car. Everybody else went back to the house, you know. It was still probably early in the evening, maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. My cousin comes out. Did I ever tell you the story?
No.
So my cousin comes out. I'm in the car. It was kind of like towards the winter, so it was a little cold, you know. So I'm freezing in the back seat. So my cousin Jeffrey comes out. He's like, and he passed away too, my cousin Jeffrey. He's like, Jimmy, come on. He goes, look at the stars tonight. Look how clear the stars are. Come out of the car, take a look. I said, I'm not getting out of the car, Jeff. He goes, come on. I'll never forget it, you know. So I get out of the car, you know. He's like, come on, come in the kitchen a minute. They're playing cards. He goes, your father's not there. He's inside. He's playing cards with the adults. We were all in the kitchen playing cards. Right? So I go in the kitchen. We're all playing cards. You know, my father comes out. He happens to walk out of the room and he sees me, right? Right off the chair, man. Pop! I went flying off the chair. He beat me all the way down the stairs. You know, my cousin Jeffrey's like, Uncle Al, you can't do that. My father just kept beating me, kicking me. All the way to the car. I got back in the car. I'm in the car. I'm like, I'm not getting out of this car again, you know?
Right.
Hour later, my grandmother comes out. Jimmy, come on, come out of the car. It's cold. Come on in the car. It was cold, you know. So my grandmother talked me out of coming into the kitchen again, you know, because she gave me a little blanket. I was freezing. My father comes walking out again, man. Boom, boom, down, same thing, all the way down the stairs, back to the car. Now I'm in the car. Half hour later, my cousin Johnny comes out. Jimmy, come on out. Johnny said, listen, do me a favor, get the hell away from me. I ain't getting out of this car anymore, you know. But one thing I have to say, my father, after the party was over and they got back home, we were all driving home, my father never said another word about it, you know. He just dropped it. He figured that was enough, you know.
I bet you never broke any.
I never vandalized
anything
anybody's,
after,
except for my Uncle Sam when I drew magic mark all over his vinyl siding on his house. But that's another story. But yeah, my father, he got sick with cancer because he smoked in the Korean War, you know. And he had a collapsed lung, and then he quit smoking, and then you know, he had cancer in the lung, and they had to remove one of his lungs, you know. But so he got sick very quick, 6-month period. He passed away, you know. I was home in my house, and I heard my aunt answer the phone like 4 or 5 in the morning, And she says, okay, all right, thank you. She hung up, and then I heard her go to my mother and say, Angie, Al passed away, And I just burst out, It was like 5 in the morning.
You remember that?
Yeah, I just like someone turned the faucet on. I just started crying. Because I knew I was never going to see my father again.
Right,
And then I remember looking out the window, and my father had just put a fence up, like over the summer, on the side of the house, and I was staring at the fence, just wailing, looking at because I knew that was like the last thing he did, and
sure.
it was very emotional,
I'm sure. Was that difficult for your mother too?
Yeah, my mother was only 37 years old, so she was, she left with 2 boys, and no husband,
You were the oldest?
Yeah, I was the oldest, yeah.
So this was at 13, and then?
Yeah, he died the 26th of November, and my birthday was the 27th, so I spent.
Oh my God! You spent your birthday on
my 13th birthday in the funeral parlor. It's something you don't forget.
Yeah.
So it was emotional.
Moving forward now, I know you were saying you were playing football.
Yeah.
How did your life change after that? I mean, did you become rebellious after that?
I did. I have to tell you, because I had always short hair. Wouldn't know it now, but I'm just saying. When I was younger, I always had remember when you waxed the front up and had I had one of those.
Oh, really? I don't remember that, but Mel does that now, so I think Mel Chancy has that.
Well, yeah, I had like a crew cut, and then what happened was the barber used to wax. You had about 1.5 inches of like this wax thing going on. I don't know, it looked like a picket fence, but that was the thing then,
Yeah.
So I always had that, So when my father died, I let a year. I mourned for like a year. I was very upset for about a year. I was very upset, and then as that started to wear off a little bit, and I started like rebelling. I started smoking cigarettes. I got worse than I was when I was younger. I grew my hair long.
And there was obviously no one disciplining you.
My mother couldn't control me at that point. I was cutting out of school. And I started smoking weed with everybody, cutting out. Going to class stoned out of my mind. And stepping up to parties.
And you actually quit playing football.
What happened was at that point, I actually told my coach to go screw himself. We were doing scrimmages out there, and I don't know what, he said something. It pissed me off. I wasn't going to take any shit from anybody at that point. And I just went in the office. I threw all my gear all over the office. I lit up a Marlboro, and I just walked out in the field. I was just smoking, walking right past him, like, go ahead, say something. I'll kill you right here.
Right.
He just looked at me, shook his head. And,
Did you just not want any part of the whole team thing?
Yeah, I just was done, man. But the funny thing is, later on, I really was going nowhere. I kind of quit school, and really wasn't attending it. I totally lost interest in school, and all my friends that were, my derelict friends, decided they want to take the test for the Army. They all want to go in the Army. So I said, "Freak it, I'll go with them." I'm not gonna. What am I gonna do?
Right.
So we all went down and took the Army test. Everybody passed with me, right?
You failed the test?
Yeah.
What did you fail?
The whole test. I flunked out.
You had to take a written test?
Oh yeah, it's like 6 hours.
What?
Yeah.
You actually have to be intelligent to get into the Army?
You had to take a test. It was like a basic. I guess I wasn't that intelligent. Yeah. I flunked it. So, but I think I think there was really a reason for that, because I got so pissed, because I was always an aggressive, competitive type of person.
Right.
I was like, you know what? They're all going to the Army. I'm not going to let this. I'm going to go take the Marine Corps test, which was harder.
Right.
So and longer.
Did you study for that?
No, I didn't study. I just went over there. I signed up, and I took the test, and I passed it. And
the Marine Corps, they probably let anyone in. That's why, because no one wanted to go in the Marines.
Actually, they weren't taking high school dropouts at that time, but there was a small window that the Marine Corps allowed non-high school people to take the test, and that's when I went in at that small window. It was that 6-month period, so I did it.
Well, you know what? Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to find out what happened in the Marines.
James, you slept right. James grew up right underneath there.
Oh, the coffee shop.
I grew up over there. I thought you were right underneath that one. That was Ida, my Aunt Ida, and Patty.
Oh, you see that deli over there? You getting on the film? That deli, my Uncle Pat, it used to be a coffee shop. He used to sell coffee and newspapers over there back in the day. So people used to get on the train over here, go hit my uncle's shop, buy a paper, get some coffee, catch the train out of here, going to the city, going to work. It's in McDonald Avenue over here in Bensonhurst. My father was in the Navy over here. He was like in his, his teenagers, like your age over here. My father. I think you guys are going to be the first ever, besides my family, for me revealing where where it all started on McDonald Avenue with my father and my grandmother and 7 kids. Right over here, right off McDonald Avenue. This is where it all happened. My cousin Denise, my cousin James, everybody knows that this address was right under the L. I actually have a picture home of my father standing right there where that car is, with probably a 1955 Chevy, whatever the hell he had. And he was standing right by that brick wall, and you could actually see this telephone pole. So the shot was taken, the car was parked here, and he had his hand on the car, and that pole was in the picture with the car. That telephone, this awning wasn't here, of course, but that telephone pole was the shot, right in this corner. That was red brick at the time. But I have the picture home, man. I'll give it to Johnny. He could flash it up there on the site. You could see exactly where it was. It was right in that spot there, and you could see the L too. So when I look at that picture, I get the chills, you know, and I'm like, wow, man, my father, it was back in the 50s, you know, maybe even the late 40s. I don't even know. I got to ask my mother, but this is where it happened, brother. This is where it happened.